Welcome to the Ultra Street Fighter 4 World Warriors of Capcom Cup Player Series Showcase. I'm Ultra David.
And I'm James Chen. This is the series of videos where we go over the 16 qualifiers for Capcom Cup 2014, which is the culmination of a year-long Capcom Pro Tour event. This is going to take place on December 13th at the Warfield in San Francisco. And of course, you can watch it on twitch.tv at twitch.tv/Capcom Fighters. Do not want to, even if you're mildly interested in fighting it, you do not want to miss this. This is going to be a blast.
Should be good.
Yeah.
Should be good. So 2 different ways to qualify for this Capcom Cup. One way is by winning a tournament outright, 1 of 10 automatic qualifiers. Then 6 other players got in by points. They did well enough at enough tournaments over the course of the year that they were given points for doing so, and they were the top 6 to get it, and they got in. But let's talk about a player who won 1 of those 10 automatic qualifiers just recently. Yeah,
not just winning 1 of those 10 qualifiers, winning the last chance to make it in. This was at DreamHack Winter, and the person who made it out of that event was Razor Fuudo.
Yeah, Fuudo. He is one of the best players in the world. I think everybody would agree with that. But he didn't seem like he was going to make it in the Capcom Cup.
Yeah.
Okay, because he hadn't been to that many events this year. And even though he did great at EVO, he got 3rd place at EVO. That's a lot of points.
And don't forget, he's an former EVO champion.
And former EVO champion. But that wasn't enough points to get him into those top 6 that I mentioned at the start. So he had to qualify automatically. He went to the last chance. He got it.
Yep. And that just made it so that all former EVO champions are now in Capcom Cup, which is
everybody who's won Street Fighter 4 is in this event.
Super cool. So Daigo, Infiltration Shin, Fuudo, and Luffy, of course. So and so they're all in it now, and you just couldn't ask for a better way to to have it. So but Fuudo, let me tell you about this guy. This guy, he is the most timid, nicest looking guy. I've called him the Japanese Harry Potter many times.
His face screams it out.
Yeah, I know. And dude, he even lost a bet one time, and he ended up at an event with like a Gryffindor scarf on and stuff like that. It was pretty hilarious, actually. But he is so timid looking. He is the nicest guy. And then you play him in a fighting game, and he is just like the biggest bully. He is so, like, he's legit one of the people that I get scared when I know someone has to play him. Like he scares me to fight against because his gameplay is so strong and so solid.
Well, but he has a long history in fighting games. You know, he's one of the best SF4 players now, but that's not how he got into fighting games.
Right. He's actually one of the best Virtua Fighter players on the planet.
Yeah, ever.
On the planet. And so basically, the story that I've heard about Virtua Fighter is that there are the gods of Virtua Fighter. And these guys, basically, the only people that can beat him are the other gods.
Okay.
Like, they beat everybody. And so for a long time, not a lot of people could get into this echelon. Fuudo started playing Virtua Fighter, and I can't remember who his teacher is. I'm going to assume that it's Itabashi Zangief because they're really good friends, and Itabashi's amazing at Virtua Fighter, right? So the story is that I've been told, and shout outs to LA Akira Gerald, who gave me a lot of this information here, is that whenever a new god kind of comes into Virtua Fighter, it's usually because one of the gods have taught him how to play. But the thing about it is, it's like the student never surpasses the master. The student never surpasses the master because that's just kind of how the game works, right? You teach him the mindset and everything, but then you teach him how to play, so of course you're going to be able to beat him every time. Stories, the legend I can almost call it now, is that Fuudo is the first person who became a god in Virtua Fighter and was also able to start beating his teacher. So he got good enough at the game, and this is one of the hardest fighting games to learn, but he got good enough at it that he became one of the gods and was able to defeat his teacher. So,
all right,
yeah, so, when he won in 2011 EVO Street Fighter 4, He was the first person to win that wasn't Daigo. And not a lot of people had heard of him at the time.
I remember this happening. I was commentating, and early in the pools, a player came up, and we saw the play. I didn't know that. Couldn't tell his face. I didn't know his face. And the name said Food. Food. And we were like, he just read it really well. Okay? He blew up whoever it was. And we were like, I don't know who that is. But he seems really good. And then we heard later that it was Fuudo, and we were like, oh, okay. Okay, I get it.
Right.
But he entered as Food because I guess that's what it's supposed to be.
Oh, yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
He's just named after food, huh?
I guess. but since that point, I guess he's always entered as Fuudo rather than just as Food. So. But the point is, I remember that he wasn't well known enough at the time in Street Fighter, specifically, to sort of everybody knew him by face yet. But by the end of that weekend, we all did.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that when he did win Street Fighter that year, a lot of people were surprised, like he was a person from out of nowhere, because that was the year where Daigo obviously was in top 8 and Punko was beating up a bunch of people with Seth and such, and then Fuudo came in and just took the tournament and did it in pretty solid fashion. So
yeah, solid is a good way to start talking about his style, I would say. As we were going over the notes for this episode, we were talking about, we talk about everybody's style. What do you think about this one player? Fuudo, great spacing, excellent reactions, so good on offense and defense. Great mix-ups, great understanding of pacing, and we were like, what's the downside? I'm not sure.
Right.
To be perfectly honest. I try to think about it. What do I think he has problems with? Other people I could say, he could have a problem if he's put on the defensive. Sometimes he gets too stubborn. If he doesn't know somebody in advance, doesn't do that well.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, Fuudo, it's really hard to say. And, he's so good at reading reading his opponents, what they want to do at the time. He's really good at understanding flow. This a lot comes from the Virtua Fighter background, because that's a lot of what the game is about, reading your opponent and picking up their patterns and such. And you saw it in EVO 2011, and outside of Infiltration, he's pretty much the highest placing champion, after winning. So Infiltration, I believe, got 3rd place one year after he won. Was it before he won?
I think it was before.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And also Daigo won twice.
Okay, you're right.
So there's that.
Fair enough. But, to win 2011 and come back and get 3rd place here at EVO 2014.
He got to winners finals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And it was 2-2 in winners finals.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at the time I was commentating those matches, I thought Fuudo was going to become a repeat champion. I honestly did. Especially because the match to get him into winners finals is the match that we're going to watch, actually, is where he beat Snake Eyes. And, it's going to be interesting to analyze this match because it doesn't look like Fuudo does much, but that's why he wins, and that's why it's so good how he played. I mean, it was almost flawless.
He boils it down, into just its absolute elements. It's just it feels. I wasn't playing against him, but it felt from watching like I don't know what you're supposed to do. And it was. I think it was one of the better performances in Street Fighter 4 that I've seen in quite a while. I really do. And
the interesting thing about it is both of us have the same memory that it felt like it was just destruction from Fuudo's side. And we rewatched this a little bit, and it's closer.
It is closer
than we remembered.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's just how it felt. It was stifling. Yeah. It was tough. It was really hard. And honestly, Street Fighter is a game about trees and branches. You can go down this path. I can choose to do this. I can choose this. Fuudo basically said, I like this branch, this branch, this branch, and cut the rest of the tree off. He just left what was there. And it was so consistent. And especially against a character like Zangief, who can do 60% damage on one mistake if he has 4 meters. You know what I mean? True. Kind of thing. And it just never happened. you know, it just didn't happen.
Well, let's jump into it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so here we go. And right away, the first thing, and I even, this is one of the first things I noticed, is that Fuudo, see this distance that he's maintaining from Zangief?
Yeah.
He is going to keep this distance 80 to 90% of the time.
Yeah, it's an unconventional distance for a lot of people. It's closer than a lot of people want to play. Fuudo, you mentioned his history with Itabashi. Itabashi in SF4 is Itabashi Zangief,
right.
Is one of the best Giefs in the world and Fuudo's training partner. So it's a match that Fuudo knows very, very well.
Right.
And he stays closer than you might think. Well, misses the timing on that just a little bit, but I love the spacing because it limits Gief's options so much.
Yeah, one of the things that I noticed about it was Zangief has a range that he can jump at you, where if he hits jumping fierce, he can hit you in the head.
Yeah.
If he doesn't hit fierce, if you try to anti-air him with a flame kick, your flame kick misses, right? Because the fierce can reach far enough. That's the range that Fuudo does not want to be in. So he purposely puts himself closer so that that option is never in Snake Eyes' game. You'll see right here, I don't think Snake Eyes jumps in on Fuudo at an anti-airable range and gets away with it like more than at least 3 times.
I don't remember it happening. Yeah, we'll have to watch and check it out. But yeah, from this range, Faye has great buttons. Stand Fierce is actually really good. You might not expect it, but it is. He can whiff punish really well. There you go. Down strong just whiff, so it'll just counter hit if Gief sticks something out and you combo it into down jab, etc. It's just such a strong range. And you see he walks right into it. There he is.
Yeah.
And as Gief steps, Fuudo steps. And he's just looking for the whiff punish. This is what we mean by he boils it down. It looks like he's doing so little, but in fact he's keeping this very precise range. When he's there, he's pressing buttons at very precise times. It's just so good.
Yeah. And I mean, I honestly remember watching it. His anti-air was just on point. And one of the weaknesses of having a character with uppercut motions is that you can kind of sneak in on them with a jump occasionally once in a while. Like a character like with reliable anti-air that's a charge motion, like a flash kick.
Yeah.
Very hard to jump in on a character without them being able to react.
If they're crouching.
Right, if they're crouching. But sometimes you can sneak it on a Ryu or a Ken or something like that. Snake Eyes, like I said, he almost never gets a jump in.
Right, the thing with Faye is that his Dragon Punch is the reverse direction. Ryu, etc., have to press toward.
Right.
Faye just presses backwards. So as you're playing defense, you already have that motion in there.
Yep, and he gets it every single time. And the thing is, like, the way he's playing here, he understands this matchup enough that he knows he's not going to win it by out-footsing Zangief necessarily. So what he does is he plays this game and just picks at him, picks at him, picks at him. He knows he's not going to be doing gigantic amounts of damage.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? So he's just really getting what he can and just trying to keep Snake Eyes as frustrated as possible.
Another thing that's very tough to do is to do both ground control and anti-air control. Typically, people are good at one or not the other, or they're good at one and then the other.
Right.
Not really simultaneously, just because it gets tough to pay attention to both. You have to be pressing different buttons. You have to be at different angles, different ranges. But Fuudo finds the spacings and timings where he can do really well at both. Those are the reactions that we were talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly why I say sometimes you can jump in on a guy with an uppercut every once in a while and surprise them. And in this case, Snake Eyes is 0% jumping in on Fuudo so far in this first game, right?
Right.
And so what makes that really interesting is that he is working so hard. One of the ways that, like you said, you jump at him, it's really hard to maintain both ground game and anti-air game at the same time.
Yeah.
The fact that Fuudo is so precise at measuring that distance, he is devoting a lot of faculty to measuring that distance, and he still can react with the flame kick. He still anti-airs him. That's hard.
It's hard. It really is.
It's really hard. Like if you're just watching at home, like you don't realize how much concentration you have to put on that little footsie game there, because that just maintaining a distance, it's one of the hardest things to do and still have the anti-air.
Yeah, you kind of have to think about ground control as being this like sine wave where you're great at one spot and then, oh, not so good here, and oh, you're better here. That's how it is. You mentioned the range where Geef likes to jump from. He can press fierce and it'll hit, or not and it'll whiff. That's a safer range for Geef. But very close is also great for Geef.
Right.
So Faye has found this spot in between Geef, so good, and then Faye is like right here. And he's there the whole time.
That spot is like pixels wide.
It's
pixels
small.
wide, and yeah, like you said, he's just there the whole time. I mean, like I said, if we went back and watched this whole thing, like I would love to see if there was a way that we could develop a stat that shows how many pixels apart they were and like measure the average, and you would probably see it like stay consistent almost the whole entire fight. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And he's been trying to. The only way Snake Eyes has gotten in has been with low forward into SPD, occasionally. And the problem with that trick is that it's a shenanigan. If you do it too much, you train your opponent, they'll react to it every time.
Right.
So Snake Eyes can't abuse it. So he has to find these other ways to get in, and the other ways just aren't working.
Right. Well, one other thing that I love about how Fuudo plays is that even though he keeps this range, and he's willing to walk backwards if Geef moves forwards, Fuudo still backs Geef up a lot. Even though he's the one who's reacting to the range, he can still force Snake Eyes just because Snake Eyes, okay, if you're close to me, fine, I want to back up so I can jump. You know, things like that. And Fuudo says, okay, I'll take advantage of you moving backwards by forcing you backwards even more.
Right.
That's a big theme throughout this set.
Yeah, and I mean, also, you know, he uses Fei Long's buttons really well. Fei Long has a lot of great pokes on the ground. One of the best, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the way that he uses it, it's like, you know, I forget what the analogy is. Like someone said, like you can use a sniper rifle to shoot someone really far, really well, but then you give it to a professional shooter and they could do even way better stuff with it. And that's kind of how I feel like, you know, Fuudo uses these normal moves that Fei Long has. And yeah, time runs out. He's just going to...
He's very patient. It's that also is tough. A lot of people will snap eventually. A lot of people don't have that in their gameplay to start with, but even people who do will oftentimes eventually snap. One of the people who almost never snaps is Snake Eyes.
Right.
And so for Fuudo to out-patient Snake Eyes is extremely impressive.
Yeah, I mean, to Snake Eyes' credit, you never see him play a panic game. You never see where his game falls apart this whole entire time. And despite the fact that Fuudo isn't able to necessarily get him frustrated to panic, Fuudo can still stay calm, take control of this whole entire thing, and still win it. That's not easy to do.
Right.
That's a really hard thing to accomplish.
So this is one of my favorite parts of the set. I love to see what Fuudo does when he's down in life against Geef. Zangief has such good defense. How do you break that wall of Zangief defense?
Right. You can see here, he is trying to figure out a way to get in there. Doesn't quite get it.
It works eventually.
Yeah. And again, that's just great reads on his part. I mean, I know, yeah, later on, Fuudo has one of like the greatest reads that I remember. I know you know what I'm talking about too. But yeah, again, just maintaining this distance, playing very, very patient.
You see how he holds the focus just a little bit when he's at those ranges. He's looking to see, I think, what buttons Geef sticks out as he does so. And he backdashes after verifying what's going on. His reactions are that quick.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you said that, you know, one of the things that Snake Eyes doesn't do is he doesn't crack. Oh, that was so beautiful, avoiding that with the backdash there. He doesn't crack, but like what's really interesting is after Snake Eyes goes down, I think 2 games, he does switch ultras. And that was kind of almost like the first sign of him cracking because it was like he's getting desperate. He's looking for another answer. And even though you can't see it in his gameplay, I really do feel like Snake Eyes was getting very frustrated in this match.
You see, when Fuudo recognizes that he's not at the right ranges to deal with Zangief jump, you saw how he just backdashed before? Just get out of that situation entirely, don't even deal with it, and then walk back into a comfortable range. Right into that range.
Yeah, exactly. I think I've only seen Zangief jump forward once and get away with it, and that was when the timer was running out and Fuudo was just jumping away.
I can think of 3 times so far. Both. Yeah, there was that time.
Yeah,
well, all of them when Fuudo was just too far away.
Yeah.
Just too far.
Yeah. And Fuudo just didn't care.
Yeah, he either wasn't there at all or he backdashed.
Right, so here's the situation. He goes down 0-2.
Snake Eyes is on the right and Fuudo on the left.
Yeah, and he's going to go with Ultra 2, I believe. He switches to Ultra 2 here. The thing about it is, like you said, Fuudo knows this matchup. As soon as you see him picks Ultra 2, I want you to see what happens. Fuudo never flame kicks anymore as anti-air.
So Geef Ultra 2 is an airborne grab.
Right.
And if you expect that Fei Long or whoever else does a Dragon Punch or some anti-air that leaves them airborne, then you can jump in and do Ultra 2 as Geef and you'll catch their anti-air attempt.
Right.
So it's good if you think that your opponent's anti-air is air-based and if that's really a thorn in your side. And it has been a thorn in Snake Eyes' side so far. So that's the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, he's jumped at Fuudo 6-7 times and he's gotten flame kicked 6 or 7 times. But as soon as you see Zangief get the Ultra Meter, just watch what happens once he starts trying to jump in at Fuudo at that point in time. Fuudo knows. He's 100% aware of that. And again, this is one of the only ways that Snake Eyes has been able to get any play is that with low forward.
Right, and then if he gets the knockdown, he can play a little mix-ups.
Right, exactly.
And then things can go okay. But yeah, that's really about it.
All right. Snake Eyes looking good here, but Fuudo immediately trying to push him into the corner again, keep him over there. Yeah, that was probably not as not safe in that situation.
No. He stuck around too long. He had done a lot of focus level 2 dash in, then check with the stand jab and back dash out. So I think he was expecting Snake Eyes to look for that again.
Yeah. Again, sitting here maintaining that distance, and so that EX Rekka is so important because, the EX one obviously much safer on block. He is so good at just using that, kind of like how Snake Eyes' little money trick is that whiff low forward into SBD. That's what Fuudo kind of uses the EX Rekkas for. It's so good at keeping Snake Eyes honest. So Snake Eyes really has to do this walk, crouch, block thing, because at farther ranges where it looks like he's kind of safe, like about that range, he can get EX Rekka, like just right out of nowhere.
Right. Now, I don't want to make it seem as though we think like this is a great match for Fei.
Oh, yeah.
I think that this is largely Fuudo's doing. The match, I would say, is evenish. Maybe a slight advantage even for Geef, just a little bit. But you can see the control that Fuudo has regardless.
Yeah, we talked about how I get scared and like sometimes you watch Fuudo and you're like, I don't know what you're supposed to do to this character. He made this matchup look like 9-1. It made it look like it was just one of those super bad matchups for Zangief. And it's not, like you said.
Yeah,
and right there,
can you back up just a little bit?
Sure.
So towards the end of this round, it's getting down to crunch time. And Snake Eyes, okay, he needs to press. You see Fuudo shut it down right there?
Right.
That understanding of, okay, very, very quick, Snake Eyes went from patient play to it's time to go in. And even though it was nothing more than just a slight walk forward, Fuudo saw it, shut it down immediately. He understood that pace change.
Yeah. But not only did he understand that pace change, so he started hitting more buttons, and he still reacted with the anti-air, which was the stand roundhouse. And you have to do it a little early. Obviously, you have to let the leg get out a little bit. But again, he was all ready to go. His muscle memory was so good at anti-airing with flame kick, and then the one moment that he jumps at him and he could have Ultra 2'd him, he didn't flame kick by habit. He just did standing roundhouse. He had it in mind the whole entire time. Again, this guy's mental strength is ridiculous. And again, being able to play this game, maintaining this distance, anti-airing consistently, this is a mental drain. This is so mentally draining, and he doesn't crack. You know what I mean? He really just doesn't crack.
Yeah, even now when he's in the corner, look, overhead, it's not even safe. But he went for it.
Yep. Right, Snake Eyes finally getting a little bit of momentum here.
Oh, that's just so crazy. It's just, I remember just my mind melting at that. Look, obviously I'm rooting for Snake Eyes at the time, okay?
Right.
I'm from SoCal, I play Geef, same with this dude. But that read, even though the round doesn't end up working out, that read is like one of the great reads.
Yeah. Like after
you go for a command grab on Geef after you're in that situation in the corner, that hits 100% of Geefs. No Geef gets out of that.
Yeah, pretty much.
You don't expect that.
After you get hit by an EX green hand, you're not in a comfortable situation. You're just not. Geef has the advantage in that situation. He's the one who has to make you kind of guess what he's going to do. Yeah. And in that situation, Fuudo just takes control with that stand jab into the command grab. That was probably one of the sickest reads.
It really was.
I've seen in the entire year. Like if I had to do a top 3 sick reads, that's one of them. Yeah. And again, so here's a situation. It's really interesting. You just played 2 almost really great games against the Zangief, you know, and you shut him down. You shut down all of his options. You play an almost perfect game again, and Zangief wins.
Right.
A lot of people at this point would start getting nervous, like maybe he figured something out. But the thing about Fuudo is he goes right back into the same game he's been playing this whole entire time. And again, there you go with another gutsy throw that he landed right there.
Now there's that down medium kick you keep talking about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's a pretty classic chip setup for Geefs, that timing. After pile driver, dash up, and then you're at the exact right time to do chip with a green hand. And that's something that Snake Eyes does a lot. But
he baited
not
Fuudo.
there. Yeah, it was a nice bait there.
Yep.
That was Fuudo's
So there you
mindset.
go. 1 game, 1 round. Zangief is, he's coming back, but Fuudo just does not waver. He stays with his game. He doesn't feel like it turned around. He doesn't feel like he did anything wrong necessarily. He was just outplayed, so he's willing to just keep playing this. He's not phased. And like I said, to me, Fuudo is one of the most mentally strong players. I still remember in 2011, there was a lot of rounds where it looked like he was completely out of it against Punko, and he just baited an uppercut with a backdash and then just raw ultra'd him and like took a round, and he just never panicked. He was never in a situation where I felt like he was like, man, I don't know what to do, And that's the hallmark of a strong player, is basically they're never in a panic situation. They feel confident every moment. Here you go, see? He's just gone right back into his game. Even though Snake Eyes won 1 game and then a round, Fuudo doesn't care.
Right. I like how he uses EX in those situations. He's used it when he gets towards the corner 3 or 4 times this round. It's a way, as you said, it's safe. And it's a way to push himself out from the corner without that much risk.
And actually, earlier was a little crazy. Fuudo did flame kick anti-air Zangief, even though he had the Ultra 2. That was pretty risky.
Yeah, did you see that? Oh,
no time left.
Scams it.
But beautiful. He had that all in mind. Backdash, invincibility, land, and if he doesn't hit me there, just go straight into Ultra. He had it all ready to go. And now he's at match point. And yeah, just going right back into his game. Consistency. Just the ability to keep this distance controlled. And honestly, that distance between those two, like I almost want to like cut out a piece of paper that length and just slide it back and forth.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you will see that they never break that distance. And Snake Eyes does his best. He's walking forward, he's walking backwards, he's trying everything he can to break that distance, and he cannot do it. Cannot do it.
Hey, see, there are some times in here where it looks like Snake Eyes is getting far enough that he could do this little jump fierce mix-up that we're talking about. And whenever he does, Fuudo walks up just a little bit.
Yep.
It's like he's almost giving it. You see, it happened right there. It happened right there. Where Fuudo let Geef walk back just a little bit and just walk forward. It's like he's giving it to you, only to take it away.
And, shout out to Snake Eyes for not getting baited into
absolutely.
that. But it's, like I said, he cut off all the branches. He took away that branch. You don't have that anymore. And it's so tough to deal with that. And, yeah, big punish for Fuudo right there. And here we go. He has all the momentum now.
Yeah, something that people rarely do is jump out of the down short knees into command grab. That seems to work. It's been working for 6 years. It does. And he jumped out of it.
And here we go again at the point right now. And there it is, that standing roundhouse anti-air.
And at this point, for Geef.
That's the first jump in that Snake Eyes has gotten.
Yes.
and it came right at the very end.
Wait, hold on. Don't move yet. Yeah. Yeah.
And there it is, right there.
Yeah, it was at the very, very end
that he finally got one jump in. One jump. That was the first time he hit him with a jump attack.
And it was at maximum crunch time. Okay, so all right. That was it.
It's ridiculous. And
he just has such control. It just
I don't want to. It's like for anyone who's taken a long road trip, they're driving, sometimes they start dreaming, daydreaming or whatever like that. You don't realize how much faculty you're using to drive. Like after you do a long drive, even though you can't remember it, afterwards you're like, man, I'm tired, because you were concentrating to drive, right? That's what it's like playing that kind of footsies that Fuudo was playing. You're just doing that all day, and it's so draining. It is so draining. Like I know I've said it earlier, but I just really want to emphasize, because if you haven't tried to do that and maintain your anti-air at the same time, it's really hard to understand just how mentally difficult that is to do. And Fuudo did it perfectly there. So,
right.
Yeah.
So he's not going into Capcom Cup as a top seed. Because like you said, even though he did great at EVO, there he was, qualifying for top 3, he just didn't go to enough events to get enough points to be highly ranked at this thing. But that said, I will never bet against him. I just can't do it. It's it just seems unwise.
Yeah. I mean, I've considered Fuudo, like I said, every event I see him at, even though I'm not playing, I get scared when I see him.
I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I mean? I just see him and I get scared. And like I said, he's like the most unassuming, nicest
in person
guy. Yeah, he is.
Different story.
Yeah, but I just know as soon as he puts his hands on that joystick, he is one of the most terrifying humans on the planet. You know? Yeah. And just super solid play. I think he's one of the best in the world for sure, top 10 at least.
Oh,
and I think he's the fact that he made it in on the last event, I think has put a lot of people on notice.
Right, yeah.
I think a lot of players are like, dang. Because the thing is, before Fuudo got in there, Fei Long, who's a very good character, was not in the tournament.
Right.
And Fei Long kind of messes up a lot of those little matchups that are there, right? So I feel like now that he's there, a lot of people are like, okay, I need to get on this Fei Long practice here. So,
yeah, definitely. And at the same time, I know there are some players who are very much looking forward to rematches with Fuudo.
Yes. Oh, man. But yeah, again, this is all going to take place on December 13th at the Warfield in San Francisco. It's gonna be ridiculous. It's gonna be so much fun. I can't wait. I'm super hyped for it. Definitely subscribe twitch.tv/Capcom Fighters so you can get notification when it starts. But I mean, honestly, your browser should be open on the channel long before it starts, because you don't want to miss a second of this. You do not want to miss a second of this.
If you like this kind of stuff where we talk about matches, we analyze things, we talk about players and their histories and news of the day and all that sort of stuff, then check us out. We're at twitch.tv/UltraChenTV and also youtube.com/UltraChenTV. Yep,
we definitely try to educate from beginners. You know, we try to teach people just getting into fighting games. We also try to teach people the high-level mind games and such, and then we always just, go over all the stuff that's been going on in the entire FGC. So
that's right. All right, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at Capcom Cup.